this is kind of the time that many of us start to reflect on the past year and kind of look at where we are now and then what we want to accomplish in the new year, and just get some clarity on what you want, why you want it, how you're going to make that happen, and then you can kind of reverse engineer it from there. Yes, we want to be considering how much time it's going to take, but we do not want to set hard deadlines or expectations, because that can apply a lot of pressure that can backfire, but it kind of impedes on the realisticness. I mean, life is going to happen. You might get sick, you might get injured, you might have a huge career change or have to move across the country, or you might have something that really interferes with the trajectory of your progress, and it will push back how long it's going to take for you to arrive at that goal. It is a good idea to have a rough idea of how long it might take you to achieve a said goal, but then also have a lot of leaving it open-ended, having flexibility. Somebody that wants to lose 20 pounds by adhering to a calorie deficit that's 500 calories under their maintenance per day to equate to 1 pound per week. Instead of them expecting to do it in 20 weeks, maybe multiply that by 1.5. So maybe not 20 weeks, but maybe 30 weeks. Setting goals, there's a way to do it and to have some structure, but we also want flexibility. Having a specific goal requires us to get a little bit more granular about what it is we actually really want. I want to lose weight this year. Okay, but that's not specific enough. It doesn't have to be scale weight though. It could be, I want to reduce the size of my jeans. I want to reduce my measurements by X amount. Maybe that goal is a little bit too lofty over the course of a year. So we just want to be realistic about our expectations when we are only focused on maybe that 5 pounds. It's easy to stay consistent and adherent and focused on the tasks at hand when we are not just constantly thinking how much we have ahead of us. Think about ways that you could break that up and create stepping stones for yourself along the way, finding your why. And it's definitely more deeper into the psychology. The problem with setting a goal and not having a very, very clear why, that can be really problematic, because we can definitely want and desire to reach a goal. Want that with every fiber of our being, for sure. If we haven't really clearly identified what's at the root of really why we want to make that change, you're making a choice of whether to choose the supportive choice or action that's going to help you towards your goal, or what's familiar, what's comfortable, what's easy. You're going to choose this. Why? Because your why is not a must. We need to go from should to must. If your goal is pretty vague, like, well, I want to lose weight because I want to look better, I want to feel better in my clothes and in my skin, your why needs to be such a must that nobody and nothing could take you off of your path. It is so tightly intertwined with basically your identity. They're going to be able to stick to their guns and say, no, I'm not doing that because that's not who I am. When you're trying to figure out really what's at the root of why you want the goal that you want, you will know when you arrive there. You might get emotional, I will warn you, and that's a good sign. If you get emotional, I think you've hit the jackpot. We are very driven by our identity. Use that to your advantage if you feel like what you've been doing, the choices that you've been making, really don't align with your identity. Maybe that's why you want to make the change. You've been out of alignment with your authentic self, so now you want to make changes so that you can feel more like the person that you are meant to be, or that you envision, or that you really feel in alignment with. Describe who it is that you feel like you really are, and what does that person look like? What does that person do? And what am I doing right now? Like, let me compare the two, and then that'll kind of stand out at you what specific things need to be changed. An exercise that you can do to kind of find your why. You can do it with another person. You can have somebody kind of be your partner in this if you feel comfortable with that. What is your goal? Let's say the person says, well, I want to lose weight. Okay, why? Well, I want to feel better in my clothes. I want to look better. I want to feel better in my clothes. Okay, why? Well, I feel uncomfortable when I'm in photographs and I don't like seeing myself like that. It makes me feel bad. Okay, why does it make you feel bad? And you just keep digging, keep following it up with why, keep digging further and further into it until you really arrive at a spot where, like I said, you either get emotional or it just kind of stands out at you as like, oh, so I guess this is the reason why. Staying motivated / disciplined. Do not rely on motivation. Do not rely on feeling like doing it. You'll have periods where you're like, dang, I'm on fire. I feel great. I feel energetic. I just crushed my workout. You're going to have periods where you don't feel like doing the things. It's just like any other emotion. It comes and goes. It's just a feeling. If we rely on it, then we are not in the driver's seat. Get your nutrition in line, like capitalize on that. But just also know that that's going to fizzle out at some point. You need to swoop in with discipline. We do not have to be perfect. Taking extreme and rigid measures almost always backfires. We do have to give ourselves grace and compassion. There's a time for that, and then there's also a time where we need to rise up to the occasion and show up for ourselves. And if we don't, we just can't complain then. When we are being disciplined, it's not to be confused with no matter what, I have to do the things, because that's not realistic and that's very extreme and that's rigid. But what we do want to do is commit fully to being all into the process and to the commitment of doing something versus nothing. Being disciplined means that you're going to show up in the ways that you can, using the resources that you have, and doing what you can do that day so that you can stay consistent. I took action. I showed up for myself, even if it was less than stellar, even if it was less than optimal. That's not really the point. It's about the principle, ebbing and flowing with how life is going to throw some lemons at you. Maybe the only thing you can do that day is take a 5-minute walk. What was in my control today? What wasn't in my control today? What could I actually give? Discipline just means that when we don't feel like doing the things, and we would really prefer not to, we don't just cop out and say, no, I'm going to take the easy route. I'm just not going to do the things. I'm just not going to put in the effort. I'm just not going to take action. Discipline is taking action, but modifying it as needed. That builds our confidence as well, and it leads to the progress over time.